Hey everyone, welcome to Simple Homesteading. Glad to have you back with us for this series we've been doing on meals in a jar. Now we're going to talk about a number of things in our episode today, so I really want to encourage you to stay all the way to the end, and that includes the credits at the end, or what seems to be the still shot. So again, be with us today, and we're going to talk about a seed giftaway. I know it's not giveaway, but giftaway. And we're going to be talking about some aspects with dehydration. A number of you have had questions with that. And so just stick with us today as we take a look at our next meal in a jar. Now today we're going to be doing breakfast in a jar. Breakfast is my favorite meal today. I know, doesn't look like I missed too many meals, but breakfast is my favorite meal of the day. And this is going to be no different. This is going to be a great meal that you can make, put it in the oven. It's especially good for some of the cold days like we've had over the last week, where we had all that polar vortex come down from Canada and the North Pole and kind of chill us out. And so when you're stuck at home because of the cold, or you're stuck at home because of the kids, this is kind of a nice comfort food breakfast that you can make for yourself. So let's go ahead and let's work through the ingredients. We'll talk about some of the things that I have over here that we're going to use for those ingredients and how we get those ingredients. And we'll take how do you make these, and as always, we'll put the ingredient and cooking list in the description below. So I'm going to use my cheat sheet here, and let's go ahead and let's start. As we've been doing with every meal in a jar, we want to put our fine powders towards the bottom, so if we want to be able to vacuum pack our jars, we can do so. So the very first thing we're going to do is take a teaspoon of our garlic, salt, pepper mix. So it's a teaspoon of garlic, a teaspoon of salt, and a teaspoon of pepper. We're going to go ahead and put that in our jar, and we're going to put that at the bottom because, again, we want those fine powders at the end. We're then going to take a quarter cup of cheese powder blend. That's this right here. We've talked about that in previous videos. We'll set some links again at the bottom so you can know where to get these on Amazon. Might even start my own Amazon store. We'll see. My goal isn't to make any monies, at least at this point in time, off my videos. It's just to put this information out there and be a part of a greater community of growing self-sufficiency and independence. So again, we're going to take a quarter cup of cheese powder and get that into the jar. Now, you know what I have forgotten already? I've talked about this before and why you need to have one of those. I usually keep a spoon with me to try to make sure I get everything in there. And I did not bring a spoon with me. All right, so a quarter cup of cheese powder. And then we're going to take 1.5 tablespoons of buttermilk or milk powder. Now, let's talk about this. You've heard me say before that we go to a bulk food store run by the Mennonites in the area, and what we do is we buy that. It comes usually in a plastic kind of Ziploc bag or something that's twist tied at the top. We transfer it into a quart jar and put a couple of oxygen absorbers in there, and this stays a whole lot longer. There are some things that I'm just as not comfortable with dehydrating myself. Milk products or raw egg products are one of those. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. So again, you're going to want to pick one of those up. Towards the end of February, my wife and I are going to be going to one of those stores, and so what we're hoping to do, if the owners will allow us, is to bring our GoPro, or at least our version of a GoPro. I'm not that rich. I have a cheaper version of GoPro I use. We're going to take that with us into the store and kind of show you what one of those look like if you do not have one near you, or if you want to travel to one so you can get an idea of what that looks like. So we'll have that running here in the near future. So again, that was 1.5 tablespoons of buttermilk or milk powder. Remember, that is not the same. That is not the same as instant milk that you buy at the store. It has to be a milk powder or a buttermilk powder. The next thing that we're going to put into here is 1.5 cups of egg powder. That is right here. This comes in a sealed bag. It's also had the oxygen absorbed out of it. What we're going to do is transfer this to a quart jar, and we're going to put in a couple of oxygen absorbers and get this, now that we've ripped this open, get this in there and get it sealed so it lasts longer. Again, this is a raw egg product that has been dehydrated. I'm not that confident in my skill sets for doing those things. I don't want to make myself or anybody else sick. So with these kind of things, I end up purchasing those in small packages that I know that we'll be able to use up fairly quickly. I do dehydrate cooked eggs. You're going to see in just a moment, I do dehydrate sausage and other meats, but we'll talk about that also later. So 1.5 cups of egg powder. And again, this is where I wish I had my spoon, but we'll get this all put in there. And we'll try not to get it on my wife's nice white tablecloth. Get that all in. Kind of stuck to the bottom a little bit, not too bad. Push this down in here. All right, we've got that all taken care of. Now, we're going to get this kind of patted down. We want to make as much room as possible. 1 tablespoon of minced onion or onion flakes. I don't think I've got that on the table here. We grow our own onion and then cut them up and dehydrate them, so these are our own. And then we do 2/3 to 1 cup of sausage crumbles. Now, if you end up wanting to dehydrate the sausage on your own, and you think that you can just be able to cook it, stick it in the dehydrator, and it's all good to go. It's not going to work. You need to cook your sausage, you need to rinse the grease off, and you need to get that rinsed out really, really good. I usually then put it back into a dry pan. I cook it down even more, and then I put it in the dehydrator. Again, a number of you have said, you know, a lot of this stuff is great, but I don't have all this dehydrated food, and I'm not sure how to do that. Well, I'm going to teach you how to do some dehydrating here in a later series. And I'm also going to give you some resources, I think some good books that you can use that are good, as well as just get on YouTube and start looking for those things. But again, we're going to put about a couple of that. Now, my jar is getting full really quick, and I'm going to kind of come on the short end for my potatoes. Well, I almost should have put this in a half-gallon jar, but that's this size. That's almost too big. All right, so that's about as much as we can tap that down. Now the last ingredient is dehydrated potatoes. This is another thing that if you think you're just going to shred potatoes or slice potatoes and stick them in the dehydrator and then dehydrate them and things are going to be fine, it's not. Those will turn black on you very, very quickly. And so there's a way in which you have to dehydrate your potatoes. You've got to cook them down, not all the way. You've got to cook them down partially. You've got to rinse all the starch out of them, then get them onto the dehydrator. And if you've done it well, as you see here, you won't have any black potatoes. An easy way to do this, if you don't want to go through all that trouble, wait till your shredded potatoes or your diced potatoes go on sale at the store. Bring them back, take them out of the bag, spread them out on a piece of paper towel. You don't have to necessarily let them thaw out all the way, but you put them on, maybe let them thaw out a little bit, dab some of the water off of them, put them into the dehydrator, and they'll end up coming out looking like this, really, really nice. All right, so what we want to do here with the rest of this, if we did this right, it'll sound pretty good. We vacuum sealed this with our food saver. Ooh, did you hear that? Nice seal on that. You're going to want to take your dehydrated shredded potatoes, and you're going to want to fill up the rest of the jar with your potatoes. All right, we're going to shake these down and get these in here. I'm Irish, and therefore I like my potatoes. We don't want to get this too close to the top, but again, not that big of a deal. And we want to keep all the powders to the bottom because we are going to end up vacuum sealing this later on. Let me put just a few more in there. However, remember, you can do this. We talk about how to make these, and we're going to talk about that here in just a moment. When we talk about preparing this, if you don't think that you've got enough potatoes in this, if you have a jar of dehydrated potatoes sitting around, you can always add more to this in the moment and give yourself more potatoes, dehydrated potatoes. So if you can't get it all in the jar, don't worry about it. So we're going to take that. Again, I'm not going to take the time to show you how to do that. If you have a Food Saver vacuum packer that has the hose attachment and the lids, you can go ahead and vacuum seal this, or you can throw in a couple of oxygen absorbers and then put the lid on there, and it will eventually seal itself. So we're going to set this over to the side, and we're going to talk about how we prepare this. You're then going to take 1.5 quarts of boiling water. You're going to put this into a bowl, 1.5 quarts of boiling water. You're going to put it into the mix. You're going to whisk it really well, and you're going to let it sit for 5 minutes. And then as you're doing that, you're going to grease a nice square glass pan, and then you're going to pour all of this into the glass pan, put it into the oven at 350 degrees, and let it bake for about 15 minutes. Now, if you want to do this in a way where it doesn't add a whole lot of time, go ahead and start your water in your kettle, get it boiling. As you're doing that, go ahead and empty all your contents into a bowl, grease your pan, your nice square pan, and then go ahead and put your boiling water into there, whisk it all up, let it stand for 5 minutes, put it in there, get your oven preheating. About the time it's done sitting for 5 minutes, your oven will be preheated. Put it in there, put it in for 15 minutes. If you want to sprinkle some cheese on the top of it towards the end, you can do that. Take it out, let it cool, cut it, spoon it out if you want to, serve it on plates, and it's going to make a fantastic breakfast. So again, breakfast in a jar. Give it a try. Give us some feedback. Tell us what you think, how it came out, and whether you enjoyed it. All right, let's talk about our seed giveaway, or I should say giftaway. This isn't all the seeds we're going to be doing, but in a future video, we're going to unpack all of the seeds that we received from Burpee online. We're going to talk about why we order online and not necessarily out of the store, and why we prefer the Burpee brand. But what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up having a number of seeds. Again, this isn't all the seeds, but we're going to be gifting away a whole bunch of seeds to our subscribers and to those who watch our channel. And so again, if you would like to be a part of that, stay tuned in the near future where we'll do a video on that. We'll also be doing a video on clarified butter, making clarified butter. Why would I want to make clarified butter? What do I use clarified butter for? And how do I make that? And so we're going to be talking about that also in the near future. Well, again, thank you for being with us today and joining us on this journey for greater self-sufficiency and independence. Hopefully this channel is an encouragement to you. If you haven't done so already, hit subscribe, hit the like button, share this. It really helps us grow the channel, and we would certainly love to grow our online family. Thank you for being faithful viewers of this channel, and hope you just have a fantastic day. Thanks.